Hey everybody, welcome back to the SuperBake podcast. I'm your host, Baker. Let's talk about stuff. Saw that the Chiefs have officially traded Tyreek Hill. This was disappointing news as a KC fan and longtime resident. Yeah, this was super disappointing to see. So yeah, I saw the Chiefs traded him to Miami, who got him for a 4-year, $120 million contract. So, yeah, that was definitely disappointing. We've had a lot of great seasons with Hill. I think he's definitely one of he's arguably our best player out there besides Mahomes. We've got some other playmakers out there too. Kelsey's pretty good as well. We've got a few other running backs, although I think we lost a couple as well. I think we lost, did we lose Pringle? I think we lost Pringle. But this really, I did not know this was going on. From what I heard, it sounded like they were in contract negotiations with Hill for quite a while, I guess. So I think from what I could find out, it looks like he's going to be like the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. So, that's cool. I don't blame the guy. I'd be the same way. So that's just interesting. And then, of course, Tom Brady decided to unretire. I'm not surprised. I kind of wonder if he was even being serious in the first place about retiring. I know a lot of people are probably not too happy about that, but looks like, he's going to go back to the Bucs next season, I believe. So, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But as far as the whole Tyreek Hill leaving thing, I think we traded him for 5 draft picks. So we'll see how that plays out. I think right now a lot of Casey's budget I think was going towards probably Mahomes' contract because he's got a ridiculous contract right now, and I'm sure we probably just couldn't afford to keep Hill. So my concern here, of course, is that I hope this doesn't open the floodgates for a lot of our other players to start leaving, because I think a lot of other teams are going to look at this and they may potentially think, if we just offer their other players enough money, they might leave. Kelsey, I don't know. He's kind of getting up there in age. He's like my age. I think he's like 32 or something like that, which, for a pro football player, that's getting up there for sure. So freaking Tom Brady's like in his mid-40s and he's still doing it. Still probably going to go down as arguably the best, or if not one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history. So, it just makes me nervous for next season. I guess we'll see how it plays out. Hopefully it doesn't hurt us too much. I think we've still got some pretty good weapons on the field. So, and hopefully these new guys that we're getting in there, hopefully that'll help our running game a little bit. I will say, I don't know a whole lot about the QB for Miami, but I don't think he has quite the throwing arm that Mahomes does. So we'll kind of see if he's able to throw the ball like Mahomes can. Yeah, the thing is, like last season for the Chiefs, they started out really disappointingly. I think a lot of it was, I think it was a few different things, but I do think Mahomes was kind of to blame for some of it. He definitely made some pretty poor decisions, I think, near the beginning of the season, and I think near the end of the season too. So the problem that I've always had with the Chiefs is that I just feel like they always kind of get in their own way. So, but I don't know, I try not to think about that too much. As I've said before on this show, I'm not a huge sports guy, so I don't follow them too closely. So you probably won't hear me bitching about the Chiefs too much on here. So, but just something I kind of wanted to just discuss real quick. But the other thing that I wanted to discuss was I saw a pretty fantastic announcement recently. It's the Cowabunga collection for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's a collection of essentially just old games for them from like the NES, Super NES, and Sega Genesis era. So looks like this is going to be a collection that's going to have, I believe it looks like 13 games from like I said, the NES era from like the late 80s to the early to mid 90s, including a couple of my favorites, the Hyperstone Heist, which I had for the Sega Genesis, and then Turtles in Time. I freaking loved Turtles in Time. That shit was my fucking jam back in the day. But I remember I had Hyperstone heist on the Sega Genesis back when I was a kid. And yeah, that was like, I played that game so much. Like, I couldn't put it down. Uh, yeah, it was one of my favorite games. I was super little too. I think when I played it, I was like probably like not even 10 years old. So yeah, it was definitely one of my all-time favorite games. I used to play. I trying to remember which turtle I played as the most in that game. I think it was a toss-up between Leonardo and Donatello. Donatello's always been my favorite Ninja Turtle. I like Leonardo because I like the color blue and I like his swords, but Donatello was always my favorite personally growing up. Although I did play Michelangelo quite a bit in that game as well. So, but yeah, super excited about this. I think it's up for pre-order on Amazon right now. I think it said like late 2022, early 2023 for the release date. I don't know if that's actually official yet, but either way, yeah, I'll probably pick this up. It looks like it's like $30 to $40 right now. So I'm super excited about it. I definitely can't wait for this game to come out. And then we have Shredder's Revenge, which is supposed to come out, I think, later this year, if I remember correctly. So that's another Ninja Turtles game that I'll be looking forward to immensely. So I don't know if the Cowabunga collection was supposed to be like in conjunction with that, like if they were doing those side by side. That wouldn't surprise me. Either way, it's really exciting though. I have such a love for those types of games, and I mean, I've seen the trailer for those of you who haven't seen the trailer for Shredder's Revenge. I mean, it's basically like paying homage to all those old Ninja Turtle games. So the old side-scrolling beat 'em up, and with that game, you can actually play with 4 players co-op. I think that game is supposed to be on every console, like the PS5, for the Xbox consoles, and the Switch. As far as the Cowabunga collection, I'm not sure if it's going to be on the Switch or not. I think so, but it looks like it's definitely for sure going to be on PlayStation and Xbox. So definitely be looking for that when that comes out. Yeah, it's like all my childhood dreams of these video games are finally coming back. It's funny because now I have like 3 friends that I can play with online too. So that'll give us something to look forward to once we're done with Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, whenever that is. So that game's going to keep us busy for a long time too. That game just came out at the time of this recording as well, so we'll be playing that game quite a bit. I imagine that game's going to rule my life for a while. But anyway, yeah, anything Ninja Turtles related, I'm always on board. So I'll definitely be excited for these to come out for sure. So I also wanted to talk about the Attack on Titan episodes. Last time I talked about episodes 19 through 22, I believe. So this time I wanted to talk a little bit about episodes 23 through 26. At the time of this recording, I think there's only one episode left that's supposed to come out this Sunday or Monday, the following Monday. So yeah, I wanted to just talk about those briefly. One of them, or I know in the previous episodes I talked about the rumbling had taken place, so that was a big moment that I kind of talked about in the last podcast that I talked about Attack on Titan. So, and then these episodes are kind of really just sort of the aftermath of that. Episodes 23 through 26, it focuses almost entirely on Armin, Mikasa, and the others, as they basically try to pick up the pieces and figure out what they want to do about Aaron's attack against humanity. And really, it's interesting because in these episodes, you really don't see hardly any of Aaron or Zeke. In fact, I don't even think after the rumbling happens, I don't think you see those 2 characters at all, which honestly I'm kind of okay with. It's cool to see this from the perspective of the other characters, Armin, Mikasa, Jean, and even some of the Marleyans like Falco and Gabby and Magath. Oh, I'm not mispronouncing his name, and Pike. And just as a side note, man, a few other characters in this series that have kind of become my favorites over the last few episodes. I love Jean's character. Just over the course of episodes 23 through 26, it kind of snuck up on me, his character development. I love how much he's changed since the beginning of the show. Because in the beginning of the show, they definitely set him up to be like a pompous douchebag. when he gets in Aaron's face in the first season and they have like their little confrontation. But he's really become a pretty admirable character by the end of the series. And also, I love a little comedic moment we get with him where when Reiner kind of gets really down on himself, Gene basically kicks him in the head to wake him up, and he basically says, "I'm not going to apologize to you." I love it. Just classic Gene. He's one of my favorite characters. I love how his character has developed over the course of the show. I love where he's at in these current episodes. It's been really cool to see how much he's changed, and he's really become kind of a pretty heroic character in some regards. Because I remember when they first talked about him, or when they first introduced him, he talked about how he wanted to be an MP, and he just wanted to have a nice cushy office job where he wouldn't really have to do anything. He could just kind of sit around and just, loaf around all day and have an easy job. And in this episode, in one of these episodes, there's actually a cool moment where Armin and Mikasa are trying to convince him to come with them, and he has like this we see this vision that he has where he could actually have a family. And I'm not going to go into that in too much detail because it's kind of cool if you see it for yourself. But we see the decision that he has to make, the difficult decision to essentially either abandon his friends and go to live the cushy life that he has always wanted. It's basically right in front of him. But instead, he actually chooses to fight alongside them to essentially try to stop Eren, even though from their perspective, it seems like a completely pointless task because, how the hell are you going to stop him? He's got an army of Frank Cottons, giant Frank Cottons following him. So I know I said I wasn't going to do a Hellraiser reference, but I couldn't help myself. So, but yeah, it's I love to see the development that his character's gone through. And then also, one of my other favorite aspects too of this is, I can't remember which episode it is. I think it's is it 24? Let's see. I think it's episode 25, where essentially we kind of get to see the alliance of the Eldians, Mikasa, Armin, and the others, along with the Marleyans, Falco, Gabby, Magath, and Pike. So we kind of get to see them come together and discuss the aftermath of the rumbling and kind of form their own little ragtag group of heroes to essentially try to stop Eren. Which does lead to it's almost kind of a funny little heroic moment where like they find Reiner and Gabby after the rumbling and they kick them awake, and Connie says, are you going to join us? We're going to go save the world. It's like such a comic book line, but it kind of works though. I like it. And I like the fact that Connie's the one who delivered it. Connie Springer, he's another character in the show that I have to admit, I really love the way they've developed him. He's become a lot more somber and serious ever since Sasha died. That still makes me sad thinking about that. Sasha was one of my favorite characters, if not my favorite character. I was thinking about that, like who my favorite characters are in the show. It's tough to narrow it down, but I would have to say my top 5 are probably in no particular order. Probably, I would say it's probably a toss-up between, maybe I might go down to 6, or up to 6, I mean. I would say Gene, Reiner, Levi, Sasha, Hanji, and Pike. And again, in no particular order. I love those 3. It's those 6. They're such great characters, but Pike is so great. Like, as the cart titan, she's so funny, but she's such a great character. There's a great scene where Flock, who's basically kind of gone crazy, he's kind of become the leader of the Jaegerist cult, and they're holding a bunch of prisoners hostage, some of the Marleyan soldiers, and Flock tries to get Jean to go along with executing them, and then Pike shows up and basically saves Jean and the prisoners and runs off with them. And I love her character. I just love. She's had some pretty cool clutch moments in this season so far. So, yeah, I think she's one of my favorite characters. She might be my favorite Titan shifter for sure, at the very least. So, and also too, just Flock as a villain, that really caught me by surprise. I kind of thought he was dead after we see the wall collapse on him, so I kind of thought he died from that. It's been a while since I read the manga, so I did look up clips of it or pictures of it, so he is in there, so I know that he does survive now, but I guess for some reason I was thinking that he was dead, but yeah, he's definitely gone off the deep end. But in a sense, I like that there is at least a little bit of moral ambiguity there, which is, again, another thing that I really like about this series. You can kind of see it from Flock's perspective. Like there's a scene, I think in episode 26, where it shows, because basically what happens is Armin's group, they have to try to figure out a way to stop Eren and the rumbling, and they need to use the airship to basically catch up to him. But it's at a port that's being guarded by the Jaegerists, including Flock, who are basically holding a bunch of engineers hostage, so that they can't essentially work on the boat and the ship and take off with it. So they have to kind of figure out, Armin's group has to kind of figure out what they're going to do about that. So it's leading to some, a pretty big confrontation there. Also, another highlight is I love the fact that that Annie is back. So her return was pretty funny too. Like, I like how they kind of went for the more comedic entrance of her character. When Armin and the others are kind of sitting around eating food and trying to think about their next move, and then they just turn around and Annie's just right there. And I love the implication that she basically snuck up on them and decided to just eat right next to them without saying a word. And when they see her, she's just like stuffing her face. That part had me laughing so hard. It was pretty out of character for her, but like it was still great. It was great to have a little comedic moment with her. And then just Connie being such a freaking asshole, just laughing at her. I mean, to be fair, I don't think that's too out of the question for him, but that's just funny. It's kind of interesting. It made me, that dynamic of him laughing at her, stuffing her face, reminded me of back when you would see Sasha eating potatoes, and Connie would like kind of join in on the gag with her. So I miss Sasha. Going back and watching the show again from the beginning is going to be tough because it's going to make me want to, I'm going to see her and I'm just going to get all bummed. So it's going to make me want to cry. Yeah, Sasha might arguably be my favorite character in the entire show. She's so great. But yeah, I like the reintroduction of Annie because she comes out of her crystal after the rumbling happens, so it's cool to see her back in there again. And it seems like she's kind of formed a pseudo alliance with Armin's group. Also, something I'd just like to note too is like I wish we could finally get the fight between Annie and Mikasa. It seems like they kind of hint at it again when they have like their little campfire meeting, but it still doesn't happen. So. Or when they talk, so it's like I wish that we could get that. I think that's something that a lot of fans have wanted to see. So, but who knows if we ever will. But either way, her reintroduction was great. And then also too, there was a interesting and also pretty sad moment in these episodes with Connie's character and also Falco too. I really felt bad for Falco because I think I talked about this the last time I talked about Attack on Titan. We discovered that Connie has been going back to visit his mother for the last several years because she's basically trapped as a Titan, and her head is so big and her body is so small that she can't move, so she's trapped. And so Connie knows that if he feeds Falco to her, that if he feeds her a shifter, she'll transform back to her normal self, and she'll become a shifter too. But basically, she'll regain her human consciousness and her body. And it's sad because we see that like he's willing to lie to Falco about this, and Falco actually believes him. Which again, I really like Falco's character. Like he's such a good-natured person. You could argue that he is naive, but like for going along with Connie, it's like you really don't have a reason to trust this guy, Falco. I mean, he is technically your enemy, so, and he doesn't really know you that well. So what reason would he have to be nice to you? And we see that Connie almost does go through with it, but then of course Armin shows up to kind of stop that. So, and that part kind of gets brushed aside relatively quickly, but I mean, it's still, given how much Armin and Connie have been through, I think it kind of makes sense within the context of the show, how they were able to resolve it so quickly. So I didn't have a problem with that personally, but I was just glad that obviously Falco didn't get, eaten up. I like Falco. He's a cool guy. I don't want to see anything bad happen to him. But yeah, and then of course obviously we see the planning that Armin's group has with the Marleyans, and how they're planning on trying to figure out if they can stop Aaron, who, again, we don't really see any progression as far as like the rumbling goes. So at this point, it's like they kind of speculate how far he's made it, which it sounds like, where I'm at least, he's made it pretty much to the other shore of the other country or continent or whatever that he was moving towards. So it sounds like, he's way ahead of them. So, and again, I have read the manga, so I do know what happens. I do know what's coming. So I'm definitely interested to see, well, I guess if this will actually be animated. And that was another point that I was going to bring up, because one thing that I didn't know was I didn't know that this. So at the time of recording this, there's only one episode left in part 2 of this season. So I guess this part of the season, or this half or whatever, was only 12 episodes. So I didn't know that until like earlier this week. I guess for some reason I was expecting it to be longer, because I had heard that part 2 was going to be the final part of Attack on Titan, at least as far as the anime series goes. So I guess this has me wondering if there isn't going to be a part 3. I know I've heard rumors of a movie potentially being made about this, which I'm all for, definitely. But the only thing that kind of has me a little concerned about this is, so my understanding is, and I could be wrong about this, but I think as far as the anime goes, they've only adapted up to, I think, chapter 130. And I think that there's 139 chapters of the manga, if I'm not mistaken. So they've still got a decent ways to go. And not only that, but they still have to they haven't even gotten to where they battle Eren yet. And that, from what I remember in the manga, that's a pretty big chunk of the story. So I guess my concern there is, how are they going to adapt all that into a movie? Because there's still, I think, a pretty big flashback with Eren. So, like, even while they're fighting him, I think there's kind of like a flashback where we kind of see like what Eren's been going through this whole time too. So I'm a little worried about how they're going to adapt that into a movie, if that is the case. But I guess time will tell. That's the only thing that I have some concerns about. I almost would hope that they do another, like, either a season or maybe a part 3 to season 4. So, oh yeah, so the manga features a total of 139 chapters collected over 34 volumes. So yeah, and yeah, Attack on Titan season 4 part 2 will reportedly end on chapter 130. So yeah, like, that's my concern, is if it ends 9 chapters short of the end of the story, I'm just wondering, like, how is that going to work? Because unless they really try to rush through the story, or they make the movie really long, like 3 hours, but even then I still feel like they're going to have to really condense quite a bit of the story to get there. I mean, if it means we get higher level animation, higher quality animation, I guess that could be cool, but I'm really worried about that. I would almost rather they just take another couple years to give us a well-animated, actual final part of the anime, where we can actually get to see the big confrontation with Eren animated the way it should be. So maybe they'll do a part 3 and then also a movie. I would 100% be all for that, where maybe like the third part could be them like leading up to the big actual final confrontation with Eren, and then the movie is the actual fight. I'm not sure how they would do that, but yeah, I guess I at the time of recording this, I haven't heard anything about any confirmation as far as a movie goes or another season or anything like that. So as far as I'm aware, there's no plans to continue the story in the anime once this final episode comes out. So, but I mean, they've got to continue it. I mean, it's arguably the biggest part of the entire story, and it's such a big, like, it's such a big mind fuck. Like, it's just crazy. Like I said, knowing what I know about the story now, I definitely plan on going back and watching the entire series from the beginning, because I feel like the entire thing is going to hit so differently, just knowing what I know now, knowing about the character motivations, their past, and how everything has basically led up to this. I think it's definitely going to hit a lot of different, I think a lot of different beats in the show are going to hit differently if I go back and watch it from the beginning. I was really hoping to be able to go back and watch the entire series again from beginning to end, but it looks like I may have to wait a little bit longer. That being said, though, I mean, if they did do a movie, that wouldn't be a bad idea. Right now, anime movies are fucking killing it in the box office. Demon Slayer, the Demon Slayer movie, Mugen Train, that movie made like a shitload of money. I don't even remember how much it was, but it was like one of the highest grossing movies in years. And then Kaisen Jujutsu, or Jujutsu Kaisen, that movie is, from what I heard, is very well received. So I mean, and Attack on Titan is arguably like one of the biggest, if not the biggest, anime series in the world right now. So I mean, it from a business perspective, it makes perfect sense. I wouldn't blame them for doing that. And again, like I said, especially if we can get higher quality animation, kind of like what we saw like in the first 2 seasons, but maybe even the first 3 seasons, but maybe even amped up, like just because I always thought the first 3 seasons of Attack on Titan had some of the best animation that I've ever seen in my life. And the idea of that kind of animation, but getting an even bigger budget for a feature-length film, I think that could be fucking awesome. So I'm curious to see what happens, but I mean, there's no way this could be the end of the story. We've got to get more. I mean, I think they'd be fools not to. Like this, not just because, one, it's a great story that deserves to be told, but man, that's so much money, because I guarantee fans would pay to see it. Fans would pay to see it twice. I guarantee it. So, but I guess time will tell. But anyways, as far as the anime series goes, I've been loving part 2 of season 4, so I don't have any complaints there. I'm a little bummed that this is going to be it, that this is where it's ending. So I'm hoping that this really isn't going to be the absolute last of the Attack on Titan anime content that we get. So I'll just have to wait and see what happens there. But oh well. Anyway, guys, that's all I have to say on those topics. Once again, I am on Spotify, Anchor, and YouTube. Feel free to follow, like, and subscribe. It really means a lot to me. So, all right, guys, take it easy.